just don't take very good care of them. It's really hard.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we thank you once again for allowing us to gather. We thank you for your protective hand over us, and ask that you grant health and healing to those who are absent for that reason. Lord, we ask you to always seek to be doers of service above self, and we ask you to bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies. In your Son's precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Good.
Hello.
Hello.
Seeing who's in the house, we should have been doing Battle Hymn of the Republic, I guess. But it's, Valentine's was yesterday, so we just do My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean. Yeah. Over the ocean, my body lies over the sea. My body lies over the ocean, so bring back my body to me. Bring back, oh bring back, oh bring back my body to me. Bring back, oh bring back my body to me. Thank you.
Welcome everyone. Very beautiful day out, uncommonly warm, and that'll make us, I always say in Indiana, just wait, because it's changing to 30 degrees here tomorrow or Friday, so and we'll go back to the winter time here. Okay, let's go ahead and start with guests. We have a couple guests besides our speakers, I think. Little Sylvie, welcome. I guess that is Marilyn. And then Jessica's just guest maybe one more time. We approved her yesterday at the board meeting, so once we get some paperwork and dues and Max here, then we'll get her inducted here soon, next couple of weeks, hopefully. So. Alright. We did have a board meeting yesterday. Discuss some of the meeting things, dues, structure, no decisions made on any of that yet. We did approve a couple of funding requests. One was the Purdue Extension, Clay County Extension for the Ag Days to help offset the cost for the kids and stuff whenever they put that program on. And we're also going to give a little bit of $250 to the district. We did the lowest level for, they're asking for sponsorships from the local clubs to help offset some of the costs of the district conference. So we did the Friends of Rotary section for $250 on that. And I did forget to mention a couple weeks ago, the board decided we did put a little bit of our money in CDs and just a money market fund. We used to have a CD for years, and then when it got to 0.15, we just threw it in our checking account. But now that they've gone back up, we put a little bit of money in those. Nothing, it's like 1.5, 2 years, so short term, and the money market stuff we could get out in a day if we needed it, but we left plenty of funds to still be able to donate and everything, but just to earn back 4.5% is I think most of the percentages on those things, what we put it in, so we gained a little bit more on our money since we had a pretty good balance in there at this time, so did that. Upcoming things, bingo's this Sunday, sell out. I think Stephanie said we sold like 485 tickets to that, so doors open at 3 and bingo starts at 5, so had some sign up, but if you want to come help, feel free, especially the 3 to 5 area before we get started. Once we get started, it's not as many people needed, but just getting it all ready and stuff sold and stuff before is the main time we need help on that. Let's see. Oh, let's do Happy Bucks. Let's get that. Anybody happy?
I'll go.
Rob?
I'm alive. I'm alive.
Yeah.
So I had my heart ablation yesterday, and they gave it a 70% chance of working on the first try, and only a 2% chance of stroke, heart attack, or death. And so I told the board that if it was the 2%, that I probably wouldn't be here today, but I am. So all went well, and they kicked me out, and don't have to go back for 2 months, and they'll make sure that everything that that irregular heartbeat appears to be a form and function of having had COVID. A wonderful, wonderful thing through all some electrical stuff, but hopefully this puts us back on top.
All right. Great. Anybody else? Ron, I'll go ahead and go, and then I'll let John go here. I forgot last week, because everybody forgot talking about games and everything else, but I forgot to give a happy buck for the Hunting with Hunter banquet. That just went so well this year, and we actually broke our record by far of how much money we raised. So we'll be able to at least continue what we're doing in scholarships, or I don't know, we'll probably increase it, or maybe go to renewable or something like that. I'm not sure what we'll do, but we was able to do 9,000 last year, but we raised even more this year at the banquet. So it was just great, and just so happy about that. And John, go ahead. One more.
I'm gonna give a real honest to God happy buck. I'm happy that it's 62 degrees out there and it's sunshiny. They've been threatening us that it was gonna be 64 but rainy, but it's sunny and it's just a beautiful day, and I appreciate that. But also the other national day was just boring today. There really wasn't much in the way of a national day. However, how many of you remember when the Beatles were on the Ed Sullivan Show? Hey, we've got some hands up there. I thought I was going to be the only one. And how many of you, I remember when I had my, I revolted much more than my parents wanted me to, and I got a Beatle wig, and man, I wanted a Beatle jacket and the Beatle boots and all that great stuff when I was a kid. And the Beatles were just everything. And I found out that Saturday is Yoko Ono's 90th birthday. Oh, that's just a bit too much.
Anybody else?
I'd like to use my other happy buck to say I'm happy that John is honest before God.
All right. Upcoming speakers next week is Judah, and then March 1st there's a switch, so Josh Ola has it on March 1st, and then on March 8th Natalie has the program. And today we'll have a brief introduction to give your speakers time by John Lee.
You're gonna let me come up here again?
Briefly.
Chris, you just don't learn, do you? I guess we're supposed to tell a little bit about ourselves, and in accordance with my guests today, I want to let you know that I am retired from the Navy Reserves, and I'll tell you, that is the best thing that ever happened to me. I spent 23 years in the Navy Reserves, 2 years active duty, and another 21 years going to meetings, and going to 2-week training every year. And I had such opportunities. It was just amazing. I mean, 5 different times they sent me to the Philippines for my 2-week training, and you know, sent me all over this great nation of ours for training. And now they're paying me a check every month, and they're paying my health care, and I've got other benefits that I have not taken full advantage of. But it's just the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. So in connection with the reserves, there's also the National Guard. So Chris brought this up, that the National Guard was reaching out to us and wanting to come and talk to us, and I thought that was just fantastic, that the National Guard would want to come and talk to us and create a little liaison between the Rotary and the National Guard. So I want to introduce Colonel Handy from Indianapolis to come and talk to us and a little bit about what the National Guard is doing. I feel like I should salute.
Oh, no. Is this streaming right now, or videotaping this?
We're recording it, we'll
Okay.
put it on YouTube so if people miss, they can watch it.
Okay, great. I'll be on YouTube. All right. So, thank you for the warm welcome, the hospitality, the invitation to be here today. I am Colonel Matthew Handy. I want to get this out of the way first. I'm a pilot. So we got that within 10 seconds of me speaking, that everybody knows I have a big watch and I have wings on my chest. But anyway, thank you again for having me here. I did want to talk briefly about the Indiana National Guard in general, what's going on in the state, and how your National Guard is representing you, not just in Indiana or in the country, but across the globe. Also, Major Aransky, who has local ties here, will speak a little bit more. I hope dive in a little bit on the local unit and those ties and what's going on here in Brazil as well. So again, thank you for the invitation. If there's any questions, feel free to ask me while I speak. I know you have lunch and it might be a little bit distracting, but hopefully it's a conversation that if you have any questions, hopefully I can either address those or get you to the person that has the right answer. I won't make stuff up. I found that's a bad policy. But anyway, so the Indiana National Guard, we have the Army National Guard and the Air National Guard. That's roughly 13,000 of your fellow citizens that have taken an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States and also defend the state's Constitution as well. We have 2 oaths that we take. One for our president, who has authority over us, then one for the governor that has authority over us in certain duty statuses. And I'm not going to bore you about that. We won't get into the legalese about it. But anyway, 13,000 of your fellow Hoosiers spread out throughout the state. Air National Guard has predominantly 2 wings, one in Terre Haute, one in Fort Wayne. One flies, one has another mission. So there's about 2,000, 2,500 Air National Guardsmen. Then the balance of that is then in the Army National Guard. In the Army National Guard, we have a division headquarters. There's only 8 Army National Guard divisions in the Army. So we're blessed to have that capability, that those positions and that oversight and that equipment that we can use both in a federal status and also in state emergencies. To expand on that just a little bit, due to our unique nature of having a state focus, a state authorization, we're allowed to respond, or we are enabled to respond quickly to emergencies within the state. So the snow blizzard, Christmas Eve, we had soldiers over 100 soldiers on the roads driving on Christmas Eve, and rescued 300 or 400, or provided assistance, I should say, for 300 to 400 stranded motorists. And that happened very quickly. So we have that capability. That's just a glimpse of the state active duty missions we do regularly. So within, I'll talk about the Army National Guard just a little bit more. We have aviation, which I command. I'm an Army aviator, and I have an aviation brigade I'm blessed to command right now. Engineering, an infantry brigade, which happens to have the majority of their forces deployed overseas right now, and a sustainment brigade, which provides logistics. Getting back to that infantry brigade, they are in Kosovo, the Middle East, etc., spread in that important geographic area that has had, the paths of history have crossed through those countries over and over again. Wars have started, and they are there again. So it's a important global mission that the Indiana National Guard is supporting and really executing very well. The Air National Guard rotates overseas as well on specific missions when they're tasked, but they have unique capabilities that they can address when needed. So I talked about the units and basically our functions that we have, and then the Air Guard. Let me talk to you about some of the challenges we have. Okay, that's a good lunch. But some of the challenges we have is really the same challenges you have in your businesses or in your organization, is recruiting or the fight for talent, right? We're fighting for talent on a daily basis. Only 20% could qualify for military service. Out of that 20%, maybe 5% have a desire to serve in the military. Then out of that 5%, the Indiana National Guard is competing with the other branches as well. What we've seen in the past couple of years, though, is that the pie, if you will, of those eligible to serve has shrunk, or even those that have wanted to serve has shrunk as well. We are outperforming the other branches as far as the percentage. If somebody says they want to join the military, we're competing well against them. The problem is there's not enough of those to go at, not go after, but to offer that opportunity for. So that's the struggle we're having right now. We have cutting edge training. We have adventures of a lifetime, if you will, that we offer. We offer the camaraderie and the sense of patriotism that few organizations offer. However, it's finding those individuals that want to take on the challenge, to take that oath I talked about at the beginning, right? To defend our country and to defend our state. It's becoming harder and harder. I do not get into Generation Z or those type of arguments that this generation just doesn't care. I do not believe that. I think that could have probably been said about my generation or all of our generations before, right? And like it or not, this generation, we're going to have to rest on their sense of patriotism to defend our nation in the future. So there's no reason to disparage them. I think that does a disservice to them and to their future as well. So with that said, I think what you can do to help us is, what you do now is outstanding as an organization. The selfless service that you exemplify through, I call it scholarships, through service activities, those things. It's the same type of ethos, the same type of drive and commitment to others that we have in the Guard as well. So if you can exemplify that, and you find somebody that can benefit from getting a shot, they haven't had good choices, or they haven't made good choices, or they haven't had the opportunities. The Guard can help in so many different ways beyond just training, through education, through Indiana public schools, Purdue, IU, you name it. We have opportunities where they can go pretty much debt-free. Or if they want to go to a trade school, we have ways where they go to get their training done, they can come back and we can have them have a trade, and have them be able to provide for their family. That is very important to offer hope. And your organization does that, and I think the Indiana National Guard does as well. So providing that hope, providing that path towards the future, keeping our well-trained workforce into Indiana as well. We need to figure out how to make Indiana competitive and keep Indiana as the first choice for those that we train and invest in. I grew up in Indiana. I'm from Huntington. My wife's from Brownsburg. I went to Ball State. Yeah, anybody? Nothing? That's right. But anyway, staying in Indiana is important, and I think the Indiana National Guard offers a way for us to do that, to keep our youth and our young adults interested in being a Hoosier for life. That's really about, I could go on and on. I just want to give you a glimpse and a little snapshot of what's going on in the Indiana National Guard. We have over, I'll just say right at 1,000 soldiers and airmen deployed right now. Everybody thinks with us more or less pulling out of Iraq, after the withdrawal from Afghanistan, that our overseas missions are pretty much curtailed. It's the opposite. We are a well-trained organization. You should be proud of your Indiana National Guard. We are in high demand, and the skills that we bring, our honesty, our work ethic that typify the Midwest, are embodied in your National Guard. So with that, I can take a few questions, and then Major Oransky can come up. Again, I fly Blackhawks. If you want to talk about flying, I'll do that all day. But if there's something about the National Guard that I can help or answer, any questions? Yes, go ahead.
So in light of like the thing in Ohio where the train went off the tracks.
Oh, sure, yeah.
In Louisville, like has that enlightened Indiana on like if something like that happened here, and like we have a lot of train tracks in Terre Haute, like if something like that happened in Terre Haute, do they have stuff in place now?
Yes, that is a great question, and yes, we do. We have an you want to talk about that a little, or is that part of yours?
Sure,
Sure.
absolutely.
Great question, because she's involved with that.
So one of my duties is to work with 81st Troop Command, and 81st Troop Command has a task force that actually works in domestic response. So they respond to natural disasters and things that happen within the state, and it's actually regionally. So they, oh sorry.
Oh, no.
So the task force is very awesome. I actually was part of the CERF-P at one point, and they do like search and extraction, and they do chemical response. And so what they do is they have a couple different teams. One team would go immediately, and actually they were contacted during the Ohio experience about potentially going out to that disaster. So being that regionally they might potentially respond. And so they go out, they analyze the situation, they make sure that everyone is safe and get people back, and really handle that. And then there's another follow-on if we do deem that it's necessary, if the governor states that, it's an emergency, we need to respond. There's another task force that comes in behind them, and then they handle like cleanup and all those responsibilities. So it's neat that is another capability that the military does have at this time, and that we're able to support not only going to war, but also here to be able to support our personnel and our community. So any questions on that further from that? Okay.
No, that's a great question, and I probably skimmed over that just a little bit. Is we do use, so we have a federal mission, a war fighting mission, but we'll use all those resources for emergency response. I fly with firefighters in South Bend. My unit does as well, training overseas or over water rescues. There's firefighters, Task Force 1. I've heard about Indiana Task Force 1. We've trained with them as well. So there's a lot of these ties with first responders, etc., that is unique to Indiana, but also other states do it just as well as us. But I like to espouse our capabilities. But those ties to local organizations, both federal and state emergency responders, is something that probably isn't understood well, and we probably do a poor job of explaining that. But if you see, that's a great example again of how the Guard can be provide resources and impact those events in a positive way. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, sir.
do you have any idea of what's going on with all these balloons, or are you not?
That only took 10 minutes for that to come up. I know as much as you do. How's that?
Oh, sure.
I will just say it is interesting times with that. So, tell you what, Major Aransky, why don't you discuss the local the unit? One reason we came here is there is an armory here, and we want to make sure that the ties between the community, some of the community leaders in the unit, we bolster those. COVID, a lot of things have happened in the past 3 or 4 years, and what we found is what we assumed were ties, communication, etc., have probably atrophied just a touch. So that's one of the reasons I'm here. And this isn't just a one stop and then I hit another county or armory. But this will be an enduring effort for us to make sure that the city and the armories are tied together and that there's mutually supporting. So with that said, Aaron.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the introduction. Thank you for inviting me. So, Major Aaron Aransky, I've kind of looked around to see if I knew anybody. So if you're local to Brazil and Terre Haute area, I actually sing in a band as well called Just Plain Jane. And so if you think that I look familiar, that's probably why. You've probably seen me at a lot of places in Brazil, the Eagles, the Elks, the VFW, all of them, American Legion. I've sang in this community for quite some time. So it's also interesting that they've asked me to do this because this unit, the 138th CSC, which stands for Composite Supply Company, it's a quartermaster logistics company. I was the commander back in 2010 to 2012. So I have a lot of ties, not only to the community, but also to this specific unit. Very proud of this unit. And the higher headquarters, which is the 519th CSSB, that's a Combat Sustainment Support Battalion. They are located in Terre Haute, and they're currently deployed right now to Jordan, and so they're doing a supply mission over there. Of this unit in Brazil, 5 soldiers are deployed with them currently. So that is very good that they are supporting in that capacity, and we'll come back to this unit. So I also, not only was I the commander, but I also deployed with them. The last time that the unit deployed was in 2009, and they went to Al-Assad, Iraq. And so I was part of the unit during that deployment, and so they were doing a supply mission while we were over there. They actually were on not just Al-Assad, but in 6 different locations around the Umbar Providence. And they provide logistics support, mostly fuel and water and food during that time frame to all of those 6 different locations. So they did a great job and really supported things over there. So right now, the size of the unit is 204 personnel. However, there currently is only 140. So they're sitting about 70% strength, which means that there are quite a few shortages. And of those shortages, and I'm going to talk about that because recruiting is such a big deal right now, is mostly in fuel and water. So if you know anybody in the community, that is interested in that, and there's a large signing bonus, it's $20,000 for them to sign and go into that. So always, if that's something that you think that people would be interested in, I'm always a recruiter. That's part of our job too. So just make sure that you send them. And the local recruiter you guys might know is Sergeant First Class Hayes. He's been in this community for a very long time and is a great guy. So something else of interest is how many people that are in the unit actually live close. When I was the commander, a majority of the personnel in the unit lived very close to this location. But right now, it's only about 30% of those soldiers that live within a 50-mile radius. So things have changed over quite a bit in the last several years since I've been the commander. Another interesting thing, we've talked about COVID support, and some of the things that we do to support local communities. And in 2019, during COVID, this unit actually, we asked them to, anyone that was available that could, to go on COVID orders to support full-time. And it was in Plainfield to run a warehousing mission for the penitentiary there. So what they did is they did the food service portion at the warehouse because a lot of soldiers had COVID. So that they were able, this unit during that time frame for over a year, to be able to provide support to the community during that time frame. So that is an outstanding thing to know. Interesting things about the unit. If you've ever seen them out running, they do use the, so there's a park right behind, and one of the fun things I remember is the squirrels would come up to you, like run directly at you while you would be running around the store. You guys might actually know that yourselves, maybe, or as you're playing golf or something, you see that. You have some kamikaze squirrels in Brazil. And sometimes you see them running around the subdivision next to the armory as well. So, and we just always appreciated the community support. Some events that you'll see local soldiers out at are going to be the post-prom event, the Route 40 Festival, the cruise from Brazil to Terre Haute on US 40. So those are a couple things. And then of course they always support, and I remember, and I have been in it several times, the Christmas parade. So that's a neat event, and I'm so glad that Brazil does that. That is what I have for you guys. Do you have any questions for me?
Next year, there's going to be an air show coming back to Terre Haute. Are you guys going to be a part of that?
Say again?
There's an air show coming to Terre Haute next year. You guys going to be a part of that?
Yeah, so I can probably talk to that. We do have the request, the air show has requested that. Luckily, one of the leaders at Terre Haute is a former general in the Air National Guard who we're pretty close with, and he knows who to talk to. So we'll participate in the air show. We think so. As a side note, thanks for bringing that up. One thing I failed to mention too is the fighter wing at Fort Wayne is going to change airframes from A-10s, which everybody loves, but are getting old, to F-16s. So that's a big change for the Air National Guard, and we're looking forward to that, for that new capability. That's at Fort Wayne. That's going to happen this summer. Exciting stuff, especially since I'm an Aviator.
We'll talk about recruiting. One of the basic requirements that you look for.
Basic requirements for recruiting. Go ahead. Hit it. I'll let you.
Sure. I say the first thing is the willingness to serve. That sense of patriotism. If there's a willingness to join, I think there's a way for us to enlist somebody in the National Guard. If that motivation is to go to school, to serve the country and state, or just to gain a career or insight or experience, there is a way for us to meet that wish. There's an age limit of 42. Even that's waiverable. So I think if somebody is wanting to join, there is a way for that person to join the Guard. And we're trying to make sure to differentiate ourselves between the other services, all honorable service. Don't get me wrong on that. But I think there's a unique opportunity with the Indiana Army National Guard and Indiana Air National Guard that you can do anything you want that the other branches can offer, plus you get to serve your fellow Hoosiers. And those opportunities, even within the state, since we have such a large force structure and a diverse force structure with everything from cyber to flying to refueling to infantry to intel and crypto, we have all that to offer. So I think it's exciting times for us. Our challenge is just getting that message out that the opportunities are there and matching that opportunity with the person.
I think there's some potential here.
Yeah.
Talk to you later.
Well, I just from the YMCA, and so
Sure.
we come in contact with lots of kids and youth people, and so trying to make sure how do I direct it or
I will
Well, if there's a way for us to tie in the recruiter, Sergeant
Yeah,
Hayes,
absolutely, that's what I
with
was
the
gonna say.
YMCA, why don't we try to do that?
I will absolutely do that. I'll get your contact information and I'll make sure that he stops by and, puts out some.
He's never there.
Some cards. He's never there?
Thanks, Charlie.
You know, he's hiding in his office when he sees you.
Another thing too, if somebody from Brazil wants to do something else, they can go to another armory or another unit. They don't have to be tied just to Brazil. Would we certainly like to strengthen those ties? Sure, and we'll find a way if that's what they want to do that. But then we're limited sort of on the skills that are offered at each armory. But whatever that individual really wants, we are a blank check on those. And what they want, we can probably figure out a way. I'm not overselling it.
No, and I would exactly state that, sir. I would say anybody who's interested just should go talk to a recruiter. There are so many things that have maybe been an issue in the past, and maybe they've even got told in the past that they were ineligible for a certain reason. But a lot of things now, you know, they'll find a way or even and can work through issues and be able to get them to serve. So, yeah, I'll do. I will make sure he links up with you.
Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Thank you all. I'd like to get a quick picture, have a good token of our appreciation.
great.
Thank
It's
you.
an hourglass and it has our 4-way test on it.
Very good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for speaking, it was great to be
Yeah.
chatting.
The photo, that's the most important thing.
All right, I got 3 of them.
One other thing, just real quick, I could go on and on about the Guard. We have relationships, 20, 30-year relationships with the country of Slovakia and Niger, which they're our partners. Slovakia has an interesting partner, or border with Ukraine, right? An interesting part of the world going on right now. But anyway, we conduct exercises with both units, or both countries, excuse me, and that's another way for somebody like me, I'm from Huntington, a small town in northern Indiana, to be able to go halfway across the world and meet somebody who's a lot like me, but just in a different part of the world. So we offer that as well, those broadening experiences that a lot of organizations can't offer. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that.
I have got to go to Israel twice because of that. That team that I spoke about, that does search and extraction, our partner is Israel. And so I've got to go, and it is a beautiful experience, especially if you're religious. So outstanding opportunities.
Thank you very much. Quick announcement, we are having a 4th of July meeting, be next Thursday, the 23rd, at 6 o'clock at Emirates, to go ahead and start planning for that. It's gonna be coming up a lot quicker than we think. But, so that's next Thursday. If there's nothing else for the Go to the Club, folks swear eyes and recite our 4-way test. Are the things we think, say, or do?
Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
You brought up.